right, today we're talking accountability 101, how to hold yourself accountable for daily success on this Monday, Canadian Thanksgiving morning. Boom! Hey, there we go. Good morning, Canada. Good morning, Monday. It's Thanksgiving for those of you crushing turkey yesterday. It's time to get your ass out of bed. Yeah, it's time to get moving, time to get walking, time to roll over. Thanksgiving's done. Yeah, if you crushed it on Saturday, crushed it on Sunday, it's all over with. I know you're probably out there building big backs. Well, it's time to put the big back aside. It's time to get ass out of bed and time to get rock and roll. And we are talking accountability one-on-one here today. How to hold yourself accountable for your daily success. Plus, our guest, Ian Tenenbaum, joining us, an ADHD coach, will share how accountability helped him build businesses and recover from a major spinal injury. And later, we're going to break down the pre-workout nutrition, what to eat to fuel your workouts with our friend Jon Andersen, joining us here for maximum energy. Stay with us today, guys. This show is packed with value. And I got a heads up, this is an explicit show. So expect raw, real, and interesting conversation as we get the day started here. I am your host. I'm Keith Bilous, diving into accountability. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're an athlete, or you're just trying to stay focused in life. Yes, that's what we're talking about here today. Ian Tenenbaum is joining us here. He's got a journey. He's journeying from recovering from a serious spinal injury. We're going to talk about that. You're going to join us for Center Stage and get into deep dive later in the hour where we're going to unpack practical accountability strategies. Marty and John are hanging out with us for In the Gym later on this second hour. And Kristina and myself are going to continue digging into the Business Athlete Manifesto in business and branding. Of course, we got Community Corner. And of course, we have the Creator Spotlight popping up as well. But before we do that, why don't we bring in the crew, Jimmy? Let's bring the crew in here. We got Johnny in the black on black with the red hat joining us from Mexico. We got Kristina in black on black from the Airbnb somewhere in Southern Ontario. And of course, we got our good friend, the incomparable, the original, Christopher Martin with the red shirt, red headset, less brunches, more, unless you're in Canada, less brunches, more crunches t-shirt today. What is going on, family? What's going on, team?
Speaking of Canada, you got to let everybody know that you're talking about Thanksgiving in Canada. Most people in America go, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Mm-hmm. It is true.
I think he said it.
Yeah, I missed it if he said it.
If you're in Canada.
Figure if I missed it, there's got to be other people that missed it too.
Well, Johnny, if we did that, we'd be here all day of what you missed.
Very true. Very true. You know, my recall is getting different it's changing as I get older.
Hey, Nation, before we dive into the morning loop here, the first 15 unpredictable minutes of your day, don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, the share button, all of those buttons you have in front of you to help us drive this show through the roof. We're going to jump into the Blue Zone scam in a few moments, plus some history. History was made yesterday that I'm pretty jacked about. I want to talk about with the team here, but let's go around the table. Johnny, you made your way to Mexico. How are you, pal?
We're good. We're settled in. We got a place here at San Felipe. It's on Baja, which is strategically, we bought strategically here because we can get from our California house door to door in 6 hours, even when I got to stop to pee every 2 hours.
Hey, Marty, can you imagine what a road trip would be like with Jon Andersen?
It would be hilarious. I would love it.
Well, you know what? When COVID hit and they changed the laws in California where you can take a piss anywhere, not get in trouble. I was like, fucking perfect. Touchdown, let's go. This is all I need because I'm always running around looking for a place where nobody can see me trying to take a piss.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on. They officially changed the laws in California around COVID so that you could take a piss anywhere in the state, Jon Andersen?
Well, it was actually let's use San Francisco as a prime example.
Yeah.
There had so much difficulty with, and don't quote me exactly, I'm just going to kind of talk, but so much difficulty with lack of jail space when people get in trouble. So basically, you can, and it might be more than just San Francisco, but I got a buddy that lives there. So you can steal up to $900 and go to jail. You can basically, Keith, you and I could be walking down the street, walk up to a police officer, say, excuse me, sir, do you have some toilet paper? Because I got to take a dump. We could drop down and take a dump right in front of him on the sidewalk.
What?
We wouldn't get in trouble.
What?
Yeah.
California's crazy.
Keith, America's different.
Oh, dude. So when they said, shit, you can defecate or urinate outside, I was like, look, I'm not trying to do anything wrong here. I just don't want to get in trouble for taking a piss behind a bush along the freeway. So I'm perfect. I'm happy as hell,
Those are actual laws.
Don't quote me, but this is the way the shit operates, whether it's a law or
I was
not,
living in Cali at the time.
Dude,
I was living in Cali at the time. He's telling the truth.
Oh, wait, would you get in trouble if you were busted for peeing?
I don't know if it was just to lull you. I mean, in the back in the day, you could get an indecent exposure. Who knows? If a cop wanted to get in trouble, he could get you in trouble.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I've witnessed, when I was in Cali, I've witnessed people taking pees and poops on the sidewalk. I've witnessed it. I saw it.
Listen to this. So a buddy of mine that told me the story about, taking a dump on the sidewalk. He's like, look, I'm a hardworking citizen. And San Francisco's not a lot of places to park, so he parks on the street. So he comes running down in his suit, getting ready to go for work. He says, trying not to step on the bum dung, as he calls it, on the sidewalk, so he doesn't get shit in his car on the bottom of his foot. Gets to his car, realizes, son of a bitch, somebody has broken into my car because the driver's window smashed through. He looks a little further. There's a homeless person sleeping in the driver's seat. The passenger seat. So they break into the driver's seat, go unlock it, go lay the seat down and go to sleep in the passenger seat. Now, here's the thing. He would get in trouble for pulling this son of a bitch, the homeless person, out of the car so he could go to work. But the homeless person somehow doesn't get in trouble for breaking into the car and going to sleep. It's fucking straight up Wild West, brother.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey, you're out there with Keith, John, Marty, and producer Flynn here this morning. Morning Loop. Mornings in the lab. I'm just kind of taking.
Me and John have an episode where we just tell California stories during the pandemic.
Exactly.
But here's the deal. That's why once my kids went to college, Terry and I moved out into this. We live on it's the nearest town is 15 minutes away, and it's 500 people. Beyond that, it's another 20 minutes to a place where you can actually buy groceries. But where we live, we bought because of this neighborhood. It's a private neighborhood, 55 homes on a private lake. We only see who we choose to see. That's how we coped with this. Really, California got rough, brother.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely did. Good morning, Brady bro. I see you here in the comments. Good to see you here this morning. Hey, I remind you to like the comment, like the station. Comment on the station, share it. Just do what you got to do to keep promoting this, baby. Good morning, Shinku. Good to see you here as well. And good to see you, Mike Fit presenter. You need more than a flower in your hair next time you go to San Francisco these days. Hey, so yesterday, nation, history happened. Yeah, I know, Marty. I know.
Why are you
I'm
laughing
sorry.
already, Marty?
I had to laugh at that. Keith knows exactly what I'm laughing at.
I know, Marty. I know.
I'm sorry.
I know. So yesterday, history happened, and I know. Listen, we're all about accountability and help you guys reach the biggest, most audacious goals in your life. Well, yesterday, a massive, audacious goal was achieved by SpaceX. A massive, audacious goal was achieved by humanity yesterday. And I want to take a minute out of our day to share it with all of you who haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, you must be living under a rock. No offense, Jon Andersen, those
of us that choose to live under a rock, we only pull our heads out when we want to see something. But actually, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so this is really cool, and I got really. So I was at Thanksgiving dinner yesterday, sharing with all my family yesterday's nerdy Uncle Keith. You're sharing all this news yesterday, but I remember 3 years ago when Elon and the gang were talking about launching spaceships to Mars, and they're like, "Yeah, so one of the ways we got to get this working is to get these things reusable." And he flippantly said, "But yeah, we're going to try to catch the rocket on its way down." People like, what? Yeah, we're going to try to catch the rocket ship with the launch pad, and that's going to be our goal. That's going to be our goal. So, nation, if you're getting out of bed today thinking about big audacious goals, what happened yesterday is a massive audacious goal that was achieved on its first attempt, and I think it's pretty freaking cool. Jimmy, let's run it and show it, man. Let's just have a chat about this. I got the vertical stream here, Jimmy.
Landing burn, 13 ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now in here.
Shutdown.
Nicodilla has popped the booster. This is absolutely insane. On the first ever attempt, we have successfully caught the super heavy booster back at the launch tower. What an incredible view!
Are you kidding
So
me?
I still get goosebumps with that. That I just got goosebumps again for 2 reasons. Because you see the team at SpaceX cheering inside their facility. No different than a sporting event. John, Marty, Kristina, right? Like these guys, these humans just jacked what they jacked about what
They might have. They might have. They're just so excited. They're busting nuts and they're not even touching it.
That wasn't the point. Jacked at what
Wow,
they were trying
how did
to
we get
achieve.
there?
Jacked about what they were trying, and they achieved it. But what I found so striking is if and you listen, Kristina, you're in Toronto. John, Marty, you guys have been to New York and Chicago, and I'm only bringing this up because you look at those big ass buildings that are in those cities. And then you think about what we just saw yesterday. It's hard to grab context because that big structure is in the middle of this wide open space, and then you see the rocket ship. And you can't have any structure to the size of it. But the engineering that happened in that instance, my goodness, Jon Andersen, it's incredible, man.
Oh. Yeah, and I got to be honest, I fucking missed the boat on that. I didn't think that was it. So I was seeing that for the first time, and that gave me some chicken skin too, bro. That was pretty next level.
That's like so, Marty. When you saw it, I don't know if you saw it yesterday, Marty, or today for the first time. But when you saw
my first time seeing it,
like, what did you think of that? Like, did you wrap your head around that whole thing happening?
yeah, man. I think technology nowadays, man, it's getting crazy. And even with the bartender robot, I don't know if you saw that. I saw that this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to talk about the robots. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm up to speed. But no, that dude. Yeah. Sorry, Marty. I'm so
You're
with
good.
you. I'm just sitting there blown away, brother.
Yeah, Tina.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah, Tina, when you saw that yesterday or today, first time seeing, what did you think?
I'm the same as you. I got goosebumps. Maybe that's the indication of the geekiness. I think.
Yeah.
The number of micro, whatever. The number of micro things that need to happen right in order for that to occur are mind blowing.
Yes.
And then to do it on your first attempt, we all know we've done difficult things, and how many attempts does it take you to do a difficult thing?
Yeah.
The fact that they did it on their first attempt, it's wild to me. It's unbelievable.
It really is. It really is.
That thing was tipping, man. It was tipping. Yeah. I was like, they better adjust that thing back quick because it's getting close to going all the way over, man. Yeah, that was crazy.
The whole thing is fascinating to me, right? So they launched that rocket ship earlier the day. So okay, we're launching the rocket ship, and in a few hours we're gonna catch it. It's like, huh? Right? And just the whole thing is just
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And we started the show to help humans achieve their biggest, most audacious goals through this idea of accountability. Well, if you looked at what happened yesterday, is there not a better example of achieving an audacious goal through accountability? To Kristina's point, when they sat back a few years ago and said, okay, we're going to do this. Like, could you imagine the to-do list to make it happen? Right. And to Kristina's point, those little micro things that had to happen in sequence and in order for that entire, like, just unbelievable, Johnny.
Be thousands of things happening at once.
Yes. Yeah, unbelievable to me. So, for what it's worth, nation, from Business Athlete Nation to the team at SpaceX, what an extraordinary accomplishment. But I weave it back to this because, listen, when you set your mind to something, as we saw yesterday, and we saw all those incredible engineers at SpaceX, we literally can achieve anything with humanity. So that's what I was really excited about yesterday when I saw it, and I was excited to share it with you guys here today on Mornings in the Lab. So, Jimmy, let's rock and roll over to the accountability check-in because it's that time in the show here. I'm going to flip my camera angle here. Jimmy's going to get the crew off stage. I'll take the glasses off for this one. Yep. Listen, too many people. I'm thinking including you. Yeah, too many people drown in notifications. You're thinking you're all getting shit done. Endless apps here, apps there, apps everywhere. The reality is you're just adding to the noise. Yep. It's just noise. Noise everywhere. Noise here, noise there, noise everywhere. It's easy and an effective trap. You get these notifications, you feel like you're all being productive, you're like all organized and shit. But the reality is you're not. And listen, I'm guilty of, I've stepped into that trap many times too. I get up in the morning, I find some new app, get all excited about it. I learn it, I leverage it, and then nothing happens. You can't just consume it. And I've learned to try it to up my accountability game as well. So listen, you want to up yours, learn to use tech to your advantage. Yeah, not just the fax machine like Jon Andersen. No. You want to use tech to your advantage. Use AI to track patterns, not just tasks. Tools like Rescue Time show where your time really goes. Gamify habits. Tools like Habitica rewards consistency. Block out distractions. Apps like Freedom create focus zones for deep, uninterrupted work. And no affiliates going on here. Just some apps we found to throw out there for you guys to think about. Business athletes like you and me, we don't just float. No, we don't float. No, that's just people floating around doing nothing. We leverage everyday tools. Yeah, true story. To help us stay accountable to the biggest, most audacious goals, just like our friends in spirit at SpaceX. Launching the big rocket ship yesterday. Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. Yeah. Hey, if you missed the old inside the newsletter yesterday, you missed a wonderful performance by my friend. Keep the accent. Yeah. Oh yeah, he just pulled it out. To the chagrin of Kristina Flynn. All right, let's bring up our first guest, our only guest, Ian Tenenbaum. It's now time for Center Stage, and today we've got Ian Tenenbaum joining us. Ian is an ADHD coach who helps entrepreneurs get out of their heads, and follow through and get shit done. He's also had to stay incredibly accountable to his personal life after recovering from a serious spinal fusion surgery. I'm interested to talk about today. Yeah, no kidding, Johnny. Ian, welcome to Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. Excited to have you here today and to learn a little bit about you. Good morning, my friend.
What's up, Ian?
What's up, brother? Pleasure to meet you.
What's up, Ian? Oh, I think we got Ian muted there, or he's got his headphones on the old quiet there. So, Jimmy, we'll bring Ian up here in the morning here. Good morning, Shelly. Good to see you here this morning in the lab. Good to have you here getting after it first thing this morning. There he is.
There we go. Go.
Loud and clear. How are you, Ian?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you loud and clear.
We got you, brother.
How are you, pal?
I'm doing great. Yeah, there's a little bit of a lag. It's maybe on my side, but are we good now?
Absolutely.
Let's rock, brother.
Let's do it. So, Ian, where are you joining us from today, brother?
I'm based in Los Angeles in Sherman Oaks.
Oh, just up the road from Jon Andersen.
Yeah.
I lived in that area.
John, where are you?
I'm actually over towards Palm Desert, but I'm really tucked away. We're literally the community is literally, it's between 50 and 60 homes at a private lake. And it's actually an area called Newberry Springs, but nobody has a clue where it is. And that's exactly why we're there.
I'm jealous. Yeah, we're in the city. It has its perks, but sometimes I wish I was way out in the country like you.
So, Ian, I appreciate you getting out of bed early this morning to hang out with us this morning. We're talking a little bit about accountability. We're talking about your journey as a coach, but also your journey back from a debilitating spinal injury. Ian, let's start there, man. What happened? How did that injury happen? And how did you pull yourself together to get through that incredible spinal injury that you had, Ian?
Oh. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a lag on my side, but you guys hearing me clear?
We sure are. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, great. So I did competitive gymnastics growing up, along with other sports, but that's the one that was pretty abusive to my back. So I had ADHD growing up. I was a hyper kid starting at like 5, 6 years old. I was put in gymnastics nobody knew what to do with me. So I would run around and jump and flip and all that stuff. And then by the time I was about 17, 18, I had put so much abuse on my spine from all the, excessive exercise that I had a back injury at a competition. And then it just kind of always stayed out of whack. So when I was about 30, I was changing a flat tire. I threw my back out. I had my first surgery. And then I did a lot of physical therapy and a lot of trying to heal it. And it went okay. But about 38, I was going through a divorce. And suddenly the back went out again. And I had a second surgery. And then that one, I was recovering for about 2 months. And then the back went out again. That was my third surgery. Then now the third surgery ended up getting infected. Then I needed a fourth surgery. And now at this point, I'm going through a divorce. I'm 38 years old. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And found out that I needed a fifth surgery. So at this point, it's like, you can't make this shit up. And I'm like, I kind of had to give up to the universe and to God. I was like, just get me fixed, So luckily it was so bad that I needed a 2-level fusion, which is where they put the rods in, make me a bionic man. So that was like a turning point where I was like, all right, I gotta just take, the theme of today, the accountability. I gotta understand this. I gotta do the therapy. I gotta get my exercise in order. And since then, it's been about 5 years or 4 years maybe, and I've been better than I've been my whole life. So now I know, how to manage my back, my exercise, my stretching, my posture, all the things that go into it. And it's actually that part of my life with all those surgeries and everything was actually a big turning point. Like a dark night of the soul, where I had all that time between surgeries and everything to reflect and look at my whole life, not just my back. And that led me on a journey of, understanding my ADHD, understanding my habits, understanding the way I interact with the world, and just really starting ownership for everything. So it was really like a big catalyst and a blessing in disguise now looking back.
Yeah. Some people say it's easier to be accountable in business. You spend your time coaching, folks on the ADHD side and probably life and business. But when it comes to health, it's more personal and often harder to stay on track. You just shared with us, over the last few minutes about your struggles with your back. And it was, it kept flaring up, or you had these instances keep coming up. What forced you to look in your own mirror and to have some accountability about your own personal situation? Because it wasn't the first time, wasn't the second time. Finally, the light went on to say, okay, I got to deal with this. Why, Ian? Why did you finally decide you needed to deal with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I was fortunate, I think, enough to have a 1-year-old child at the time. Mm. And going through a divorce with a 1-year-old, I was inherently, struggling for time. Even the most amount of time with my son that, possible was still half of the time. And at that age, that's a very difficult thing to work through. And that put a lot of that was a double-edged sword again, right? It was a blessing and a curse, but it was an opportunity because I had half of my time at least to work on myself. But to your point, the question, I was lucky and fortunate to have this motivation, this drive that it wasn't just for me. So I guess in a way, a lot of it comes from being in a way selfless, because I wasn't necessarily just doing it for myself, which a lot of people struggle when it's just for themselves. I was doing it for a 1.5-year-old son that I wanted to be able to support, to lift. You know, I couldn't lift him because of all these surgeries. I couldn't, you know, play with him. I had a lot of that just drive to fix all this. And now, you know, it's completely transformed my life. So I feel very grateful that I had that opportunity, and now I'm forever changed. But in the moment, you know, it feels like hell on earth, and it feels like nothing makes sense. And that's why I do the work I do now, because I help a lot of people, maybe not as dramatic of a situation, but still that feeling of despair and overwhelm, like they don't know where to go next, and they can't imagine it ever changing. So I can come in and help them say, no, it can get better, but we have a lot of work to do. So, you know, let's look at what that's going to be.
Johnny, what strikes you when you hear Ian's story? You know, because I know it strikes me, but, you know, as a parent, Johnny, what strikes you when you hear Ian's story?
Well, the first thing I love is that he took a whole shitload of lemons and made some pretty sweet lemonade. That's the first thing. Yeah. Love that. And I really, really relate, you know, when my first daughter was born and I became a father, it was like, holy shit, it's time to do some house cleaning, man, because there was a lot of people in my life. There was a lot of shit in my life that I needed to get out, because all of a sudden now, just like you said, it wasn't just me anymore. I knew I was fine waiting around in that bullshit, but my little one was not. And so, I mean, I had to push a lot of friends away. I had to push away a lot of bad behavior patterns. So I just so relate to what he's saying. And I love the fact that people need to understand, and I think we talk about a lot on the show, you know, when you're a better you, which is what, you know, basically what we're talking about, you're a better father, you're a better friend, you're a better husband, wife, whatever it is. So I just love the fact that, he made some pretty sweet lemonade out of a whole shitload of lemons. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five surgeries. Holy shit. And he even said, I'm the bionic man. So he took that and even tagged it with something positive. So you're talking my language, brother.
Yeah. Marty, I saw you nodding there as Johnny was talking, and I saw you nodding as Ian was talking. What were you taking out of Ian's story, Marty?
Pretty much, you know, Ian, he looked in the mirror and he said, I got to go through this. And he pretty much, he played with the cards he was dealt. And sometimes life does that. But what struck me was how he said, you know, he's a better man. He's better now than he ever was in his life.
Yes.
And I don't know why God works like that, but he's going to put us through stuff and it's just going to make us better. But we don't realize it at the time. And I just wanted to ask you, Ian, so the injuries, do you think, like, now that you're older and you look back from gymnastics, do you think some of the injuries came from, like, maybe bad technique or bad coaching, or you think you just had, you know, bad joints?
Yeah, so I later found out there's a small component that they call, I think, congenital. So that means from birth. So I had some kind of weaker discs and spine, just slightly. But the competitive gymnastics, I think people don't really appreciate it. Meaning, you know, you think about football or hockey and you think, oh man, those are dangerous. Oh yeah, head injuries. Oh yeah, kids got to be careful, right? But gymnastics is incredibly abusive on the spine at a young age when it's in a developmental stage. So, you know, I'm 10 years old and you know, hitting the ground, you know, falling off of bars, smacking my face on, you know, the horse, and it put a lot of pressure on my discs. So I don't think it has anything with you know, anything outside of myself. I do think I was a bit tall, so there's a bit more of a, you know, flex, but I think it's just that we could start to acknowledge, how some of the sports our kids play impact their joints and their puberty or their development or their muscles, or like in football or hockey nowadays, their brain and helmets. Like, some of these things have lasting impact, and we don't think of it as much. So that was only one part of it. But, like I said, I had, I believe, weaker discs, and felt like I was going to be one of those people who had back problems my whole life and is always complaining about my back no matter what. And I kind of started to just accept that in my 30s. I'm like, oh, I'm one of those people. I got to be careful. Right? And then once I went through all this hell, and now I got the metal discs, and I've got the bars and everything, I can lift anything. I can run. I can play tennis. Like, I don't have to worry about my back anymore. So like I said, it was a blessing in disguise. And if it didn't get that bad, I wouldn't have been able to get the, $500,000 insurance to pay, for this complicated, surgery. A lot of people get left in limbo where they've had back problems, but it's not as bad as mine was. So they don't get the full, fusion. And then they got disc problems forever. And then they're always being careful and sensitive and paranoid because they don't want to hurt their back again. They might hurt their back. They might hurt their back. And so like I said, it was a blessing in disguise. But, one I remember quite vividly in those moments, I was pretty much broke, moved out of my house, living in my friend's guest house while I was having these surgeries because I wasn't working. And I was very fortunate to have a friend with a little guest house in LA. But I'd go for a walk around the neighborhood, and it's in the middle of LA. So I go down the street by the Jack in the Box, and there's these little homeless encampments. So I'm waking up, not seeing my son, healing from the last surgery, not working, broke, living in my friend's guest house in the backyard in a little 400 square foot fucking life. But then I go for a walk exercise, and I'm looking at these homeless encampments on the corner. So that was a really powerful, paradox or dichotomy where I'm thinking, poor me, I got to live in a guest house for free in LA. And meanwhile, you got these homeless people I'm walking by, and I'm giving them the $1 I had in my pocket because I figure I'll find another dollar. They might not. So that was a really powerful part of my life, I feel like.
Hey, you're hanging out with Keith, John, CMartyFit, and our guest, Ian Tenenbaum, here this morning. Ian's going to stick around for the deep dive here coming up in a couple moments, and we're going to talk about breaking down actionable strategies to hold yourself accountable in business and in life. And hey, if we got some time, we're going to ask Ian about that sign behind him. I love hip hop. Yes, yes, yes. You don't want to miss that. But before we do that, let's get into this part of the show. Yep, Marty's up. He's got something.
Come on, man.
He's got something
Come on,
fitness.
man.
You're up there, Marty.
Man.
Jimmy, get me off stage, brother.
All right, let's do it. We got the fitness tip for today. We're going to talk about consistency. All right. So you don't just set a goal, you got to live the goal. All right. We got too many people out here setting these massive goals and they quit because the results aren't there right away. So you got to stop measuring your success by how quickly you see abs or how quickly you see the scale change or anything like that. You got to look at things like how fast are you? Are you lifting heavier? The tangible things, right? Also, did you show up today? That's another thing you can look at, all right? Your goals are not going to chase you. You got to break them down into small daily non-negotiables. Did I wake up on time? Did I eat clean? Did I show up to the gym? Small things. The small wins will eventually lead to the big wins. Forget about I want to lose 20 pounds on the scale. Forget about I got to go to the gym 5 days this week. All right. Say that you're going to the gym 5 days this week. No excuses. If you want results, you got to make the process and you got to focus. All right. Treat every session like an appointment with the new you, with the future you, with the leaner you, with the better you, with the faster you, with the stronger you. So success in the gym, it's not just motivation. You got to be disciplined. Consistency comes with discipline, all right? So whether you're tired now, sore, busy, you still got to show up. Consistency isn't sexy. It's not flashy, right? It doesn't sound cool on social media. It's not a quick fix that somebody can sell you real quick, but it's undefeated. So tap into that consistency and watch you become a better you. That's the fitness tip for today.
Fitness tip of the day, every single day, Monday to Friday, 8:30 Eastern time with Christopher Martin, CMartyFit. Fitness advice to get you guys rocking and rolling. Hey, we're here in the deep dive today with our guest, Ian Tenenbaum. We're digging into accountability 101. How to hold yourself, nation. Get out of bed. Don't hit the snooze button. Hit the snooze button. You're 9 minutes behind. And you just don't want to do that today. So listen, accountability is key. We saw yesterday with big echo there. Accountability is key to achieving success in anything, whether you're running a business, hitting your fitness goals, or managing your personal life. Jon Andersen has had to live a life of accountability to help him achieve some massive goals. Jon, let's start the conversation with you, pal. How did you stay accountable as you've worked your way through life? And I know you're a habit stacker, but you always weren't a habit stacker. How did you stay accountable when the motivation just wasn't there? I'm not talking in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. I'm talking kind of in your earlier days in life when you were still figuring out how to stack habits. How did you learn how to stay accountable, Jon Andersen, in those early stages in life?
Well, of course, I was one of these guys who was finding every reason not to do my shit. That was part of the problem. I was really good at telling myself I didn't do something or blah, blah, blah. And then once I started to actually put in a little work and started to see the benefits, you want a little more. And so realistically, I guess I talk about habits, which is 100% what I'm all about, but to a certain extent, that habit will turn into like a system of life. Yeah. Now, once that system is in place, it's like part of your circuitry. It's part of your programming. And once it's a system, then you just move on to the next one. And you're really just you're rewriting programs and you're creating more and more systems. And pretty soon, especially when it comes to business, because in business, for me, it's either a system or a person that's taking care of something. And, perfect example, when you've got a bunch of employees or, anybody working under your wing and they follow the system and the system breaks down, it's not their fault. They're going to work a lot harder. They're going to give you more when they know that all they've got to do is follow the system. And if something goes wrong, they're not going to have some sort of consequence because the system failed. So you adjust the system and you continue. So I guess I haven't really talked much about this on the show, but I would say, really, for me, what made my accountability second to none, because I don't miss, is I basically continue to show up. That habit turns into a system of life, and now it's like a deep rooted piece of me. I mean, it's like, how do you pull out a piece of circuitry? It's in there.
Yes. So Ian, Jon talks about that, he had to develop a system to make things work. As you sit and coach your clients, or you have a child, what's the first step? What's the first step someone needs to take to start building an accountability system that actually works repeatedly over and over? What would your advice be, Ian, for that person?
Yeah, well, first off, can you hear me okay now?
You betcha. Yep.
The audio, okay. So counterintuitively, what I typically start with is trying to identify as many things as possible that we can cut right now from being on the plate, right? So most people come to me and they want to be accountable because they want to get certain things done, and they have this false view that there's some missing link for them to be able to get all 20 of these things done immediately. And you're setting yourself up for failure, because you know, like if I say today I'm going to start working out because I want to look like Jon next week, I'm going to end up back in the hospital. Right? So the first thing is getting clear on what's the priority, right? So for me, working out and trying to look like Jon next week is just, I'm going to fail from the start, right? Because I'll try to do all the things. I'll get, protein powder, and I'll, try to lift too much weight, and before you know it, it's just not possible, right? But if I said, I want to look like Jon in 2 years, where do I start? We might say, okay, well, in the next month, let's just do 20 minutes a day of some light cardio, and let's start doing a little bit of weights. So in a month from now, you're working out 4 days a week, and you're doing, 10 minutes of weights, right? That will put us on a good trend, right? We'll be on. So if we look a year out, 2 years, hey, you could look like Jon. I'm using Jon as a good example because weight, exercise is a similar thing where people try to go 0 to 60 and then they fail. So it's much easier to be accountable and to follow through and to be able to stick to what you said when you take on realistic goals. And are we setting the right goals and the right timeline?
Yeah.
Marty, when you hear Ian talk, you listen to his journey. Can we really have it all? Can we have successful business, strong personal relationships, health in check? Or as Johnny said, sometimes when you want to be elite, you got to make some major sacrifices. Like Marty, can we as humans have it all? Can we be accountable to everything we want to do? Or is there ultimately going to be a sacrifice, Marty, along the way?
So that's actually a great question. I feel like we can have it all, but by the time you have it all, it's going to be later in life, because we're always going to have things that we're great at, and we're going to take those things that we're great at. We're going to use the skills from there to get better at whatever it is. So you might be great in business. You got to take them skills in business and use it towards family or use it towards your fitness. So it's always going to be a chase, but that's what makes life beautiful. You always got something to improve on. So I feel like, in our active years, we're never going to have it all. But by the time we do have it all, we're going to be 120 like Johnny wants to be. He going to have it all then. But it's going to be time to go by then.
You know what I find striking, Johnny, about Ian's comments is like, yeah, if I want to be like Jon, and be jacked or muscular, it's not going to happen in a week. It's going to happen in 2 years. Yet I often hear you and Marty talking about, Marty, especially you, customers coming to you saying, hey, I want to get fit for my vacation next month, or I want to lose some weight for my trip in 2 weeks from now. And that's like Ian saying, yeah, I'm going to get my back sorted out in a week and everything's going to be fine. There's a learning in this, isn't it? Like, accountability is a day in, day out thing that has to go forever. Hard to do. And that's why we've had some success with this show, is that this show is a free accountability check-in for all of you guys every single morning. We're here, right? And this is a long-term gameplay. Johnny.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you mentioned people that want to get in shape for a cruise, when people come to me and say something like that, I say, okay, is that your first checkpoint in a new way of life, or is that your goal? And if they say that's my goal, I say, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. I don't really say that. But I just say, I don't serve people that want a short-term fix. You want to change your life? That's what I'm all about.
Oh, I like that. So hold on, back that up. So somebody comes to you and says, I want to lose some weight for my vacation. And you're saying, oh, okay, great. Is that your first checkpoint, or is that your ultimate goal? I like that, because if I'm saying to you, oh, I just need to lose weight for my trip in 2 weeks, you're like, nah, fuck, I'm not for you. But if you want to have a lifestyle that your first vacation, you're going to feel good about yourself, and then I'm going to help you stay accountable, just like Ian looked in the mirror to help him stay accountable over the next 2 years. That's the kind of person you are. Yeah, I see. I get that. I mean,
one of the questions I ask on my questionnaire is tell me what life looks like in 10 years.
Yeah.
And if they're not talking about a new way of life, this is not for me.
I'm still in that. Sorry. Love you, John.
Absolutely, brother.
So, Ian, looking at you, brother, I'll ask the same question I asked to Marty. Do we always need to make sacrifices to have everything you want? You said, you have clients coming to you that need to be coached on the ADHD side of things. We all as humans want everything. Can we have everything, Ian?
Well, yeah, I mean, this needs to be pulled apart a little bit, right? Because when we say everything, first we got to define what everything is. I like what John said about the 10-year thing. I do the same thing. I start with my clients on what's the 10-year vision, what's the 3-year checkpoint or the milestone that is going to indicate if you're on track, what's the 1 year. And when we start there, we immediately pull the attention away from today, tomorrow, next week. Mm-hmm. And we're putting things into context. So when you say have everything, we need to define what does everything mean in 10 years? Is everything $1 million? Is it a wife or a husband? Is it 2 kids? Is it a business that's thriving? Like, is it doing philanthropy? What does everything mean to someone? And then how do we break that down? I use the term milestones, but checkpoints is spot on. What are the steps to get there? Because a lot of my clients with ADHD, we struggle with the time blindness, which means there's now and not now. And that's the only 2 times we know. So it's hard to think long term and see how these things are going to become milestones or checkpoints, because it's now or not now. So we got to change that thinking day one of it's now, it's next month, it's next year, it's 3 years. And that could help us know, first off, what everything means to us, and then also have a plan on how to get there.
Mm-hmm. Ian, before you go, where can people connect with you if they want to learn more about your ADHD coaching, or get your help in growing their business, or get your help with helping somebody stay accountable based on some of the things they learned today? Ian.
Yeah, the best place, I'm very active on LinkedIn and responsive. Just, look me up on LinkedIn, Ian Tenenbaum, or my website, accountable.live. Perfect name.
There you go. Excellent. Ian, thanks for joining us today, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. I hope you'll come back sometime to tell us more about that sign behind you, I love hip hop, and learn more about the ADHD coaching practice that you have with your clients. Ian?
Yeah, it's been great having me. I appreciate it. Thanks guys.
Ian.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome. There's Ian Tenenbaum joining us here, Mornings in the Lab, all the way from Los Angeles. We're going to walk Ian under the lab. We got Jon Andersen coming up with a lifestyle tip. Mike, I see your question. About to what extent should we let us define. We're going to get to that later today or in a future show. It's a great question, Mike. But right now, we got the Jon Andersen lifestyle tip coming up here. And we're going to come back with George Jansen with the protein break, fueling for success. Johnny, you're up, brother.
Let's go. All right, the lifestyle tip for today. So there's a phrase that is very, very misunderstood. And that phrase is, I'm going to treat myself. And unfortunately, what that means for the general public is they've worked hard and they've done something. Maybe they lost some weight, they reached a goal, and then they're going to treat themselves with some sort of a self-sabotaging behavior pattern. Very common. Someone reaches a fitness goal and then they run to go eat a bunch of shit that doesn't serve them moving forward with their progression and even makes them feel like shit. So don't misunderstand this term. I'm going to treat myself. Don't treat yourself with self-sabotaging behavior. Treat a win with another win. When you reach that goal, think, oh man, you know what? I'm going to go buy myself a new pair of pants because the old ones are too big. Or think, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk and celebrate how good I feel on this walk because I used to not be able to do this and breathe comfortably, whatever it is. But don't misunderstand this term. I'm going to treat myself does not mean you're going to run to a self-sabotaging behavior pattern that probably got you in the predicament in the first place. So treat a win with a win. Rock and roll.
Win. That is a good discussion, Jon Andersen. I think we need to have here in the lab, Marty, Johnny. I know many humans, I would say myself included along the way in my journey of life, where we celebrate success with sabotage. Unwillingly, often. Unwillingly. We're like, oh yeah, I lost a bunch of weight. I'm going to go crush a pizza. And you're like, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing that for? Right? And it's a thing that we all.
It's okay. That's the problem. It's viewed upon as normal. It's viewed upon as this is what you do.
Yeah.
You know, and eating that pizza is what got you there in the first place.
Yeah.
And so what you got to do is you got to recognize, what is the shit that I was doing that got me here? Let's not use that behavior pattern anymore, let alone to celebrate the fact that I've reached the goal of being able to button my pants or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, a good segue to upcoming conversation here with Jory Jansen. Jory's going to welcome here. We got Jory joining us here. Johnny, Johnny, where's Jory here? Where's our friend Jory? There she is.
What's up, Jory?
There she is. Yes, we got Jory Jansen,
the goat.
Here, the
goat is back.
The ultimate nutrition expert here, mornings in the lab. We're here in the protein break. Today, we're going to dive into pre-workout nutrition. What to eat before you hit the gym to maximize energy and endurance. And what I'm excited about today is we got three people here. We got Marty, we got Johnny, we got Jory, and I'm suspecting they're all going to offer a little bit different advice. Maybe not, maybe so. But Jory, let's get into this whole idea of pre-workout nutrition. And again, what I have found in my experience is at the end of the day, nation, you need to find out what works best for you. Right. So, and from my understanding, timing is key when it comes to pre-workout nutrition. You want to eat your meal sometime before, although sometime talk about intermittent fasting when it comes to eating. So, Jory, I'm going to start with John first, and I'm going to come to you next, Jory. But John, what's your approach? You know, competitive bodybuilder, competitive strongman, competitive fitness dude all your life. What's your approach been to fueling up before a heavy lifting session? Jon Andersen.
That's a great question. Great question. And here's the thing. This question is not asked of the person that's deciding what to eat very often. What is the goal of what you're doing? Using myself as a perfect example. When I was training strength, I was eating, especially pre and post, with food that was going to make me perform, like physically, like lifting shit. Well, then when I was as a pro bodybuilder, you know, if I was in a phase where I was trying to drop body fat, I was eating something with the goal of helping my body drop the body fat. So the question that most people don't ask is, what is the goal here? And most people, they're basically chasing a pump. You know, they want to feel good during a workout, which is great. I understand that, but feeling good during your workout may not always help you with your goal. So that's the first thing that I like to ask people is, okay, you know, like with clients, they come to me and they want to drop body fat. They want to maintain muscle, drop body fat. So we're aggressively going after chewing up body fat. Well, you're going to feel a little flat in your workouts, but that's just part of the equation. You want to make a goddamn omelet, you're going to have to break some eggs. And so it's just kind of one of those things. What is the purpose of the goal? That's what's going to determine what you're going to eat pre and even post.
Yeah. I'm stuck on the omelet comments.
Yeah, Jory, that's a button, by the way. That's a button. Give me a button, goddammit.
I'll make you a button.
Jory, you got to follow up the crack an omelet comment with that one. But Jory, when a client comes to you and says, I need some fuel to work out, you know, you're working with pro athletes, amateur athletes, the regular, you know, Adam and Eve. What are you saying to somebody, Jory, who's looking for fuel?
It's really the same thing. It's what's the outcome? What's the intention? And unless we know that, we can't help with the strategies and put the systems in place. We've what systems before, right? And that's exactly the same thing. Are you looking for an endurance? Are you a triathlete, or are you looking for some power and strength? What is the goal? In sport, we have something that's called periodization, and it's a fancy word for we create the plan for what's going on in the moment. And we plan for the future with their.
Thank you for making that simple for everybody. That's what, because most people will hear that word like, "What the hell is that?" So, thank you for breaking that down.
And so it is just that, and you have to go with what's going on. So if you're someone that feels like nauseous in the morning and the idea of going for a long workout session is just not going to be there, but it's early in the morning and you can't eat breakfast, which is apparently the most important meal in the day. I think every meal is the most important meal of the day, but whatever. Then don't eat breakfast. You're going to go then looking the day before and plan your nutrition the day before. So the early morning, you have some hydration and you go hit the workout. If it's endurance, probably you're going to have some fluid source of carbohydrate throughout that at specific points. But I don't think there's one way to get to a destination. It's figuring out, like what Jon said, what is the goal? What's the end point? What is your purpose in doing this training? And then you set up the nutrition plan around that. It's like I look at people's schedules and then I build the nutrition plan around the schedule. People shouldn't have to build their schedule around the nutrition. It's the other way around. And you got to support the demand, the work that's happening.
Mm-hmm. Why? What?
Can I add something, Keith?
Real quick. Please, Marty.
Real quick. Make it quick. All right. I'm sure Jon and Jory can agree that carb is the fuel source. So no matter what your goal is, we're going to probably just be changing the carb or the amount of carbs, right? So there's no need, and I don't know if anyone watching does this, there's no need to drink a protein shake in the middle of your bench press sets, all right, or your squat sets. I can't stand that. A lot of people think that that's like the key to getting through the workout, and it's not. Carbs are the key to your fuel. So I just wanted to add that in there just in case anybody watching does that, because I see that pretty often. So
what you're saying is somebody in the middle of their lift chugs the protein shake because
it's not doing anything for you.
Right.
Or pre-workout. Pre-workout is one of my, it just makes my gut cringe. So
talk about it, Jory. Talk about that.
So the pre-workout, if you want to have it, whatever. I mean, the caffeine might be really helpful. The amount of beta alanine, I mean, you got to like load that. Otherwise, it's not really doing much for you. It's a liquid. That's great. But there's no magic to a pre-workout. Most of it is just crap.
It's mental.
Jory, let me jump on this train with you because I'm feeling the same way. And here's the thing that most people train in after work in the evening. And so they're taking this pre-workout, they're getting all fucking hopped up, and then they have a workout. The pre-workout's hitting, and then they go home, they can't go to sleep. Well, if your pre-workout is keeping you from sleeping, you got to rethink what the fuck you're doing. Excuse my language, but Jesus Christ, sleep
is the truth.
There is no pill or a potion that is going to outdo sleep. So if you're one of these dudes that's going home and wondering why, even if you're sleeping, but it's not good sleep, you got to
wake up though, Johnny. They got to wake up, Johnny. They had a long day at work. They got to wake up.
Well, and keep in mind, there's so many other ways to wake up besides polluting yourself with a bunch of stimulants that really, when it comes down to it, again, I recommend a pre-workout to someone on that day where you didn't sleep, but not the one you didn't sleep from your goddamn pre-workout. So it should be like a once in a while used tool when you really need it. But yeah, so sorry, Jory. I needed to join you on that train.
That's good though.
Yeah, no stories. It's all good. I also think that people need to understand what are you doing? If you're going for a run versus going and lifting weights, you're going to fuel differently just because your gut needs to be able to relax, right? So if you got a bunch of food in your gut because you're fueling for that run, now you're hammering away and that gut's crushing. I mean, it's coming up. Or it's coming out. You get to decide, I suppose, what you want to happen in that run. But I mean, so fuel appropriately before a run, 3 to 4 hours. So if you're running early in the morning, I'm not getting up 3 to 4 hours to have that full breakfast. It's just not going to happen. But I mean, if you're going to go and do some resistance training, depending on what you're doing, but you can probably handle a little bit more protein and fibrous carbohydrate versus going for a run. So just take a look at what is it that you're doing and also what's the outcome.
And on that level, Jory, would you agree that if people start to eat real whole foods, that they'll be able to digest more efficiently so they have the ability to eat closer to their workouts? So many people like, oh my God, if I eat even 2 hours away from my workout, I can't do it. Well, that's because you put a bunch of gravel in your stomach. Your body's got no idea what to do with your shit you just put in there.
I love it. Yeah. And you can absolutely, just like we can train our minds to work differently. We can actually train our gut to handle the nutrition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marty and John, before we wrap this segment up, I love this segment. You guys drop nuggets every single day with this segment when we do this. Talk to our audience, talk to Business Athlete Nation about somehow learning patience within the process of fueling yourself before your workout. What I mean by that is that encourage somebody, give them something to think about, which is, okay, try something today, try something tomorrow, try something Wednesday, be patient, try it. And Johnny, I know you're all about trying things, but we all want quick fixes. What I'm getting at is, Jory, give somebody right now the impetus to be patient with their process of what's going to work for them to fuel themselves. Am I making sense, Jory? Because I think we always overcomplicate everything. Encourage somebody to be patient, Jory. Johnny.
Yeah, I think that it's sort of just a quick analogy a little bit here. Like, I don't know any business people online that when you are, entering a Zoom meeting and your batteries on your laptop starting to go a little bit low, the Wi-Fi is kind of not going great. You're not planned, you're not prepared. That meeting might not last for you, and that's not cool, right? So you want to make sure that you're you're charged up the way you need to be. You're in a setting where you've got the energy, the flow, the Wi-Fi is working properly. It's the same thing. So figure out what it is that you need. What is the energy that you need? So I like to ask a lot of my clients, what's one thing you can start doing? So can you eat a banana in the morning? Know that you think that makes your gut hurt. Okay, don't do the banana. Can you do a small smoothie, whatever that might be? What do you need to stop doing? Oh, procrastinating that you can't get everything ready the night before, right? So what do you need to stop doing? And then everyone's doing something that this is the part that gives the hope that, okay, I can work on things. What can you continue doing that you're already doing? Mm-hmm. So if you start, setting yourself up for success, not failure, then you're more likely to show up, right? And like my husband said, he goes, Jory, you're getting up on a holiday. What are you getting out of this? I said, I think I feel valued. That's why I'm getting up and letting the rest of my family sleep and come show up, right? Last night, it was 11 p.m. and my daughter's like, Mom, we didn't work out for a couple of days. I think we should go down and do something. I'm like, oh. Well, we had Thanksgiving dinner, a good 4 hours ago. I probably can handle doing something. So we went down and did our workout. And so it's finding your community, finding what it is that you're already doing well. Find out something that's tripping you up and start figuring out the systems that need to be in place to keep you accountable within your community. I think that's, where can you start?
I appreciate that, Jory. And listen, we appreciate you. You're very much valued here this morning, and every day you come on the show here. So thank you for showing up here. Johnny, quick little bit of advice before we wrap up the segment. Johnny, what would you say to somebody who is looking to figure this out and endure the process?
Well, first off, I want to say everything Jory said is right on the money. And you asked for, patience and building patience. That was a great answer. Obviously, I'm going to come from the different side of the equation because people don't want to be patient. And I like to make things simple. So I'm going to factor those two elements into the equation. The average person eats so many processed foods. The body has a really difficult time processing that shit, which means something you ate yesterday that's processed, your body's still wrestling with that. So if you want to you want to make some progress with a little faster, maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to do everything Jory said, but I want to do something that's going to give me some results quickly. If you eliminate the processed foods, your body's digestion and processing time will go way down, and you'll feel much, much more comfortable with physical activity closer to the time you eat, which is going to give you a huge jump start on figuring out your formula, because everybody's formula is different. Just like Jory alluded to earlier, your formula is different. So eliminate the processed foods. It's going to put you a whole new realm of understanding what you got to do, and you'll make progress much faster that way. One simple step for big forward progress.
I like that. Hey, Marty, before we wrap it up, any closing comments from you, brother?
Got the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So just like Jory said,
yes,
you got to prepare. So you prepare the night before. You're not scrambling. You're not up watching Netflix all late. All right, watch your Netflix earlier so you can meal prep and get everything together. So you're in control of everything.
Awesome. Jory Jansen, coach, our nutrition expert, our food expert, somebody who brings value every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the protein break here as we build out this show, Morning in the Lab with Keith and Friends. Jory, what do you got going on the agenda with the family today, Jory?
Well, it's my dad's birthday, so a little bit of that. And I think just prepare for the week. I've got a little bit of work to do with some pro athletes because they have time today. So I make time. That's my day.
Awesome. Jory, we appreciate you. Thanks for coming in this morning. Thanks for getting out of bed and letting the family sleep and hanging out with us for a few minutes this morning. Jory?
Awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jory.
Awesome. All right, Jory's heading out of there. We're running a few minutes behind this morning, but that's okay. We got the personal brand bite coming up to Kristina Flynn, joining us from the Airbnb somewhere in Southern Ontario. And then when we come back, we're going to get into some the Morning Loop Reloading, going to restart the show, and then Jon and Marty got some stuff coming from In the Gym with Jon and Marty. Flinner, Coach Flynn, you're up.
Let's go,
Coach.
Let's do this. All right. What if I told you that impressions and followers are bullshit? Algorithms are like that high school friend that you really should have cut off years ago. Yeah, they serve a purpose, but they actually take more than they give. It's time to let them go. Algorithms are the same. So what should you be paying attention to instead? Screw vanity metrics. Let's think about relationship metrics. Here's what you should be focusing on. Regular comments. Are people actually engaging with what you post? DM connections. Are you having real, authentic conversations in the DMs with people? Talking about where you're getting to know them, not just trying to have a transaction or a sale. Cross platforms. Do your people know you on the various platforms that you exist versus just one app? Off platform. Are they subscribing to your newsletter? We want to make sure that we're getting people off a platform that we don't control into a database and into an opportunity to connect with them into the future. First time purchases. Have they bought from you ever? Repeat purchases. Are they buying from you again? If so, purchase feedback. What do they say about the experience? All of these things brought together, whether they're purchasing or not, don't worry about that. But these are the real numbers. This is where you want to focus, obsess even. Because here's the truth. Trust can't be measured. Not in terms of quantifiable metrics anyways, but engagement, conversion, and loyalty, all of those things actually can be measured. So leave the vanity metrics alone. Focus on building relationships instead. Your brand, and I promise you, your mental health is going to thank you. I have entered my no fucks era. And if you give today's brand bite a try, I promise you, you'll be one step closer to entering yours. You've got this.
Hey, there it is. The personal brand bite with Kristina Flynn. Daily, Monday to Friday on Mornings in the Lab at 9 o'clock Eastern time. She jumps in around 8:58. Give you guys, hey, listen, personal brand is more important than ever. True story. If you sit around with your resume or your CV from 1980, thinking, nah, you need something more valuable or relevant in 2024, Coach Flynn can help you out. This is hour 2 of Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends here. We're kicking things off with the Morning Loop Reloaded. Yep, we are. We're going to dive in for the next few minutes before we go in the gym with Jon and Marty about an essay I read. Rory Sutherland wrote an essay I found on Substack, Insights on the Battle Between Urgency and Importance. You know, we always think about what's urgent or what's important. Then in the gym with Jon and Marty, we're going to talk about top workout rules you should never forget. We're going to spotlight a creator in the community corner, and then we're going to dig into the rest of the Business Athlete Manifesto during the business and branding segment with Keith and Kristina. But for Loaded, I want to get into an intriguing essay that I read by Rory Sutherland over on Substack. Jon, Marty, and I'm looking at you guys. His essay challenged the good morning, Tangerine. I just see you here. Good to see you here this morning on the show here. Rory's essay, guys, challenges this idea that faster is always better, arguing that in today's world, we're often letting the urgent drown out the important. And I feel like it works well in this. I gotta get some abs, Marty, by my vacation coming up in 4 days from now. Right. But we have this, we're often letting the urgent drown out the important. Oh, you mean you want to live longer? Isn't that more important than getting abs in 2 days from now? And it's hurting our long-term success. Team, Sutherland uses a brilliant analogy, and Johnny, listen to this one because you come from our philosophy world, but Sutherland uses a brilliant analogy when he talks about a copywriter and an art director who wish for the lives of Hemingway and Picasso only to have their account manager wish them back because of an urgent meeting. And I find that it's a perfect representation of how we constantly prioritize these short-term needs. I got to get a six-pack by the weekend, Marty, over the long-term value of, no, but I want to walk with my kids when I'm 80. There's a conflicting kind of goal there. Let's talk about this. In a world where everything is urgent, John, I got to get it done now. I got to get my abs by Thursday because I got to fit into my suit. How do we make sure, Marty, John, Kristina, how do we make sure that we're not sacrificing what's truly important? No, Keith, what you really want to do is you want to walk with your kids when you're 80. Not worry about right now about those abs because the abs are going to come and go. John, starting with you, pal. As someone who's spent decades in high pressure sport situations where urgency is often the name of the game, how do you balance, and how have you taught yourself and your clients to balance the long-term goals with the pressure to act immediately, urgently, and quickly and right now? You follow me, Jon Andersen?
100%. And it's, it comes down to more like what are you focused on? Where are you putting your attention? So like, let's just talk about the gym. Someone, we'll use myself. It's just easier to use myself as an example. When I'm in there busting my ass, and I'm, squatting 700 pounds to failure, meaning I'm not planning on putting it away. I know, take this thing, I'm going to crash. It's because I'm not worried about that day. Well, excuse me, I'm worried about that day, but realistically, the focus is me doing that down the line with the best in the world. I need to do this today so that I can get on that stage and I can compete with the best in the world. So of course I focus on what I got to do today, but realistically today is just one little piece of the puzzle, one spoke in the wheel of the bigger picture. And it's a little confusing because I preach, don't focus on the big picture because you're losing focus of today. So you have to understand where you're going, right? And you have to make sure that goal, that place, that end place you're going is the right place. And then you got to focus on what you got to do today to make sure you maximize today to take a step towards that place. So I guess what is it that you're focusing on? And you said it yourself, brother. Are you focused on getting abs, this week, or are you focusing on getting abs in the process of getting so healthy you can, play basketball with your grandson at 80 years old?
Yes. So, but Marty, you got clients coming in every single day who are juggling multiple priorities. They got a priority here, a priority there, a priority everywhere. How do you help them keep the important stuff front and center, basically recognizing, yes, I know, Keith, that stuff's important. Everything's urgent, Keith. How do you help your clients balance what's important today towards what's important tomorrow?
We use the reverse rule. I have the reverse rule. Y'all know what the reverse rule is? No, perfect. That's what I'm here for. To teach
I want to hear it.
That's what I'm here for, Johnny. That's why I'm here, Johnny. All right, you got to use the reverse rule. So pretty much, all right. Let's say client comes in. Hey, I want to get a 6-pack by Saturday. Okay, whatever led you to want a 6-pack. So let's say you have a gut you want to get rid of. The gut didn't show up by Saturday. A couple years ago, you didn't say, "Oh, I just got this gut Saturday." The gut, it took time. You had to accumulate that gut. You had to build that gut. You had to put some effort in for that. Well, maybe not effort in for that gut. But if you didn't get the gut quickly, you're not going to get the 6-pack quickly. So the same rule applies. It's just doing the opposite behavior. So pretty much that's the reverse rule I use. And so when I break it down like that to them, they pretty much understand that, oh, I got to put some work in. I got to change habits. I got to reverse everything that I did to get the gut in order to get the 6-pack.
So, brother, I just got to jump in real quick. That's so powerful because that's so true, brother. But what really skewed when social media came along and people start basically putting up pictures of their transformations and not being honest with the time frame. Now you got this fleet of people that think, well, yes, I saw a guy that did all this in 30 days. I want to figure out how to do that. And what that does, that distracts them from proper guidance, such as the reverse rule.
So, Flinner, there's another side to this, Coach. Sometimes, especially in business, acting fast is the right move. We gotta go. We gotta go right now. But how do you know? How do you encourage your colleagues to know when urgency should take priority over importance? Again, urgency should take priority over importance. It's about understanding the situation, knowing when to act fast and when to step back and think long term. But Kristina, what are your thoughts on this whole idea of sometimes acting fast is ultimately the right move? Maybe you're even sacrificing the long term by acting fast today.
Well, sometimes if we don't act fast in the immediate, there will be no long term. And so we need to understand the implications of our decisions in the immediate. I don't believe in balance of any of these things. I believe in blended. So balance assumes that you're always going to meet an equilibrium. And that's just not reality. As you said, sometimes are going to require more time on the gas pedal. So I can't be balanced in that moment. What I want is blended. And in order to have blended, I have to have a really, really clear vision of what the future is. But I also have to acknowledge the fact that the future is not the present. So if I fuck up right now in the present, there will be no future for me to consider. So those are the things we need to understand. I always think about it like this. Jon, I don't know why this sits with me, but you said with your girls, you would allow them autonomy when they were dealing with challenging times, except if that moment in time you knew was going to negatively have an effect on the trajectory of their lives. Yes. You kind of need to look at your goals and your decisions in that way. Is this going to change the trajectory of what I'm trying to do in a negative way? And if so, you probably have to put the urgency behind it. If not, then maybe you need to question whether or not it's actually urgent.
You know, and I got to just jump on that train real quick. That's something that I still struggle with because, you know, my mentality is go, go, go. And sometimes I think, okay, I want to go, go, go. But in actuality, is this go, go, go right now going to serve my big picture? And I love what you said, Kristina. It's so powerful. Is that sometimes if you don't keep that urgency, the whole thing falls apart. The whole thing goes to sleep. So there's a balance there, and asking yourself questions, I think is so powerful in this situation. So I think what you're saying is right on par, Kristina. Totally resonated with me.
And I struggle with it too. I really do. Like we make this seem simple. It's not simple. It's simple to say. It's really fucking hard to do. And I think all of us struggle with it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the reality is this, right? The big takeaway here is simple. While urgency can't always be avoided, it's important not to let it drown out what truly matters. What truly matters now, what truly matters in the moment, what truly matters down the road. Speed isn't always the answer. That's the reality. Speed is not always the answer. Sometimes you've got to slow down to go faster. Sometimes you got to slow down to get it right. It sounds so cliche, but the reality is it's true. And I'm looking at your comment. Sue Herman, is this mentoring? Yeah, it is. It's free mentoring. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Monday to Friday. We help you guys get up and hit your most audacious goals. And sometimes that's by being urgent. Sometimes it's like saying, I got to go get it done right now. Right? So listen, drop a comment. Let us know, how do you balance urgency and importance in your life? And we want to hear all about it. So we can talk about it on the show here. All right, coming up next, we're going to head to the gym with Jon and CMarty, and then we're going to come back as we go into Community Corner. I teased something at the beginning of the show that we've somewhat ran out of time at the beginning of the show, but I've been nudged by my producer, Jimmy, here. Keith, might be people wondering about this, the Blue Zone. Blue Zone is a scam nation. I think it's a scam. We're going to come back and talk about it after In the Gym for a few minutes. Some of you are kind of intrigued about living longer in the Blue Zone. We're going to lean into that at the end of our segment with Jon and Marty. But Jimmy, let's get me out of here. Let's get Kristina out of here. Let's put Jon and Marty on stage so they can dig into workout rules you should never forget, Business Athlete Nation, with Jon Andersen and Christopher Martin. Let's do it, boys.
Oh, man. This is a doozy, brother.
You can go all day here, man.
This is a doozy. I just got to come out of the gate with the first thing, and it's unbelievable how many people still don't get this until they experience it work. And here's the thing: what you cannot forget is it's not possible to out-train a poor diet. If your diet is poor, you can do whatever the hell you want in the gym, and you're not going to get the results you're looking for. You tighten up that diet, you're going to get, sometimes 5-6 fold type of progress. You'll get 5 times, 6 times the progress if you're eating in a way to support your goals and your training is aligned with your eating. It's a totally different deal. So that's it. You just remember, people, you cannot out-train a poor diet.
I agree, man. And a phrase that people use that goes along with that is, I just went to McDonald's, but I'm gonna burn it off. I'm gonna run it off. You're not running it off, okay? Because if you look at
how far would you have to run off a fucking Big Mac, man? You'd be running.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if you go to freaking McDonald's and eat 800 or 1,000 calories, 9 times out of 10 you're not burning that in the gym. You're not going to do it every day. If you do burn 1,000, you're not going to do that every day. So you just can't eat like that every day, and that's only one meal. Not to mention everything else you're eating. So,
and let's go a little further on that, brother, because you hear people all the time. I'm going to eat this. I'll have this birthday cake or whatever it is. Let's not call it birthday cake. You're eating something you're not supposed to eat. Right. And they say, oh, well, it's okay because I'm just going to do a little extra cardio. Well, number one, that little extra cardio ain't going to touch it. But number two, the odds are you probably aren't going to do that fucking cardio. You're just telling yourself you're going to do that shit because if you were actually doing the shit you're supposed to do, you wouldn't be eating whatever the hell you're stuffing in your mouth that you're not supposed to be eating. So be honest with yourself is a really, really good rule of getting in shape too in the gym. Stop pretending that you're going to do the shit you're not going to do.
Yeah, and Shinkle says 6 hours on the treadmill to burn off one Big Mac. Exactly.
You couldn't do it. There's no way,
crazy. Man. You can't do it.
You'd have to run yourself to damn near death to even have a chance of doing that. And
you're going to feel like shit.
Yeah. Anybody that even if you legitimately tried to eat a Big Mac, find the calorie count, get on a treadmill, and try to do. You'd be like, "This is not worth it." If it's even possible, it's not worth it. Yeah, no shit.
Have a blast. So the next one I want to bring up is don't compromise your form to lift heavier weight. Yes. And I see a lot of people do this, man. They want to just, I'm trying to bench 225. Now your elbows ain't at the 45-degree angle. You ain't coming down touching your chest. Or even on squats, your squat form is all messed up. So I think you should chase. I think you should chase the muscle engagement. Don't chase the weight. Yeah, ego lifting, and then they'll do it on the they'll ego lift on the deadlift and be like, "Oh yeah, I don't do deadlifts no more. They're bad for you. I hurt my back." Well, you hurt your back. You lifting too heavy. You haven't perfected the form yet. So that's a big one.
And let's go a little deeper on that too. Great one, brother. Great one. The term failure is a big one. Oh, yeah, I trained to failure. Well, let's define what that means. If you're one of these people that, because keep in mind, training to failure, if you can do it properly, there's some big results to the end of that difficult train. But let's define what failure is. Failure means when you can't do another rep safely, which means the first little chink in the armor of your technique breaking down, that's failure. Failure doesn't mean doing a deadlift with a rounded back like a humping dog. That's not failure. That's just dumb. So you really, really got to understand, when you're training, which goes right along with what you're saying, brother. If you're one of those people that wants to train to failure, understand what failure is and where it is in the process of an exercise.
And I'd say before you do an exercise, make sure you know what muscle you're working. What muscle are you trying to target? Because, if you do squats properly, you're going to feel more than just your quads, So it shouldn't just be, I'm just working quads, really learn. If you don't know, ask someone, get on Google, TikTok, ChatGPT, YouTube, because you can get hurt in the gym, not realizing proper form. So I say really do some research, do some digging, and you don't have to go, you could do the surface level research. You don't have to go as deep as me and Johnny, that's what you watch us for. Let us do that. But understand what muscles you working to avoid getting hurt or anything like that.
Yeah, I totally agree, brother. I would say another one that's kind of a doozy here is, a lot of times people say, oh God, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that. They come up with reasons why they shouldn't go to the gym. And those reasons very well could be very true. And, maybe you did have a bad night's sleep. Maybe you did have you know, you got scolded by who knows what it could be. You know, you're in that space. Well, here's the deal. Just show up, get warmed up and start moving, because in many cases, once you get warmed up, start moving, you're going to feel pretty good and you'll want to continue. So here's the thing. Just remember this. You know, one of the things you don't want to miss with going to the gym is give it a chance. Don't tell yourself it's not going to be, you know, a beneficial workout until you try.
I agree. I got another one, man. We got to get this off the table, man. We got to talk about this.
Lay it down.
So one excuse for not going to the gym, this is kind of what you were talking about, but it made me think of this. We got to throw this excuse out the window. They're not going to the gym. You don't know what they're going through, or they're not eating clean because you don't know what they're going through. What the fuck does that mean? Excuse my language, Keith. That grinds my gears right there. As if, you know, the people in the gym who are there consistently don't go through stuff in life. Like, we don't have the family stuff. We don't have the job stuff. We don't have, you know, regular human things going on. I don't care if you're fit or not. You have stuff going on. So that's a poor excuse, you know.
Well, and here's the thing. It's that whole thought process is out of the line. Meaning, you eat right and you go to the gym so you're better at dealing with that difficult shit.
Yep.
It's a preemptive exercise, you know. And if you're eating right and you're exercising regularly and you have some big problem that lands in your lap and you stop eating right and you stop exercise, guess what? That problem just got a whole lot bigger. Because when you eat right and you exercise, you're a better version of you, which means you're better at solving problems. So just that whole process of, you know, I can't go to the gym because this, that, and the other, I'm hurting. Well, you go to the gym and you eat right because you're hurting. That's the whole purpose.
Absolutely.
All right, hey, I'm back here on stage. I just sit back and listen to these guys chat, and I giggle and I laugh, and Marty's dropping nuggets, and you see these guys getting frustrated because, nation, you got to get rolling, man. Get your ass out of bed and get moving, because there's really no excuse to get moving. And you heard these guys have heard all the excuses, and if you have a better excuse, I encourage you and I invite you to let us know so we can laugh with you guys and share some humor.
Yeah, bring it here.
But why you guys can't make it to the gym, drop it off here in the comments. And yeah, Shinko says exercising should be a part of, it's not, but should be a part of everybody's lifestyle. And hey,
let me make this clear too. When Shinku says exercise should be a part of everyone's life, that can be taking a walk. Now, obviously, you can do way more than take a walk, but we're not telling you to be like me and Johnny and Keith sometimes. We're not telling you to do that. All right? Get your body moving, whatever that is for you. Now, we would love it if you would want to step in the weight room and get stronger and build muscle. Of course, we would love that. But just get your body moving. That's the point.
Yes, absolutely.
Very true. And real quick, I just got to touch on something that hit in the very first few minutes of the show, but I didn't want to take away from the SpaceX segment, because that was pretty nutty. That was pretty cool. So, Keith, what you said was, when you were at your get-together, your Canadian Thanksgiving, that I think you referred to yourself as the nerdy Uncle Keith, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah, 100%. Well, here's the thing. On this show, we call you the nutty little fellow. So what that means is you're being unapologetically yourself wherever you are. The adjective just got switched from nerdy to nutty. That's pretty damn close.
This is true. Well, and you guys saw the picture I shared with you yesterday, and I found myself, Johnny, as the nerdy short little uncle there. That's I'm like, okay, y'all grown up, but I'm just a nerdy little guy here. So I was, it was quite a moment. But anyways,
that's good shit, brother. I mean, when the people in private are calling you the same thing as the people in public, you're getting a grip on that. That's good shit. And that, for the people listening, that's really what I wanted to show, was that when you're the same in every dimension of your life, you're getting really, really good at truly accepting yourself and being unapologetically yourself. And when you do that, the whole goddamn world changes.
That's it. All right. So listen, guys, we're going to work towards wrapping up our show here. We just finished up the in the gym with Jon and Marty. We're going to bring Flinner up on stage. Let's bring Flinner on stage there, Jimmy. I think I'm looking at the right camera now. I teased something at the beginning of the show. Before we let Jon and Marty get out of here to get on with their day, and before Keith and Kristina move to the Creator Spotlight and move into the business and branding segment, I want to quickly take 2 or 3 minutes to talk about blue zones. And I wanted to bring Flynn on here because I know Kristina's all about intrigued about blue zones. Johnny, Marty, do you guys know what blue zones are?
I don't think I know what blue zones are, Keith.
Yeah.
You see what I did?
Keith,
I was quiet, and I was
Love
thinking,
you,
God damn, I was being quiet, and I was like, God damn it! Hopefully Marty speaks up. Because
so blue zones are these places on Earth where apparently you live longer. Yeah, it's these places with elevation, and you apparently will live longer in life if you live in a blue zone.
Colorado?
Right? Yeah, well, places like Okinawa, Japan. There's other places around the world here.
It's not just the elevation.
Brother,
There's a variety
I just got to
factors.
just real quick. I got to say, I thought this was going to be a political thing, so I'm very glad we're talking about something.
No politics here, Jordan. So no.
Yeah, I was like, God damn, he's crossing the line, man. Get me the hell out. Yeah, get me out of here, man.
Background texting.
We're not talking red states here, Johnny. No, we're going to wait a month before we get into that conversation. No, we're going to be talking about where people live the longest. And apparently, I'm going to do some paraphrasing here, Coach. Blue zones are a place in the world where you live longer. You're at a higher elevation, and there's allegedly that you live longer when you live in a blue zone. However, that might not be the case. Apparently, Nobel Prize winning scientist Saul Justin Newman has revealed some shocking truths about bad record keeping and fraud. Let's break it down. So apparently, blue zones have been seen, Marty, John, Kristina, as the secret to longevity. You live in a blue zone, you're going to live longer. You live in a blue zone, go live in Okinawa, Japan, you're going to live longer. But Newman found, this is crazy, man. Newman found that many people in these zones who claim to be over 110 years old don't even have birth certificates. In fact, out of these 500 supercentenarians in the U.S., apparently, in some of these places, only 7 have documented proof. So the reality might be that these blue zone places that everybody lives, well, the reality is that the people who are apparently 100, 110, 125 years old, there's no birth certificates. So we might not actually know how old they are. And Johnny, I know like you and we're both the same age, Johnny. I know as I get older, sometimes I can't figure out how old I am. Like, okay, how old is 72, whatever it is, right? So you can imagine 89, you're 100. You're thinking, oh yeah, I'm 110, right? So nation, blue zones might just be a myth. They might not have any reality wrapped into them. Johnny.
Yeah, so let's just go with the assumption that these people that are potentially fibbing, let's just say that they're still fairly old, right? So let's say that the blue zones are creating, so in general, some elderly people out that are out of the norm. Let's just assume that, right? Well, here's my question. Is it really the fucking zone, or is it the lifestyle that the zone creates?
It's exactly it.
So Jesus Christ, people, don't think you're going to go to fucking Okinawa with a backpack full of Big Macs and you're going to live to be 100. Jesus Christ.
Still at McDonald's.
You got to be a little smarter than some of this shit.
Do not move to Okinawa with a big bag of Big Macs and think you're going to live longer. Nope. not going to happen according to Jon Andersen. All right, so there you go. Nation, blue zones just might be a myth. The next time you hear some 100-year-old telling you they're 100, ask to see their birth certificate. Yeah, nope. True story. Flinner, what do you think of this whole thing?
I mean, yeah, the way that we've described it as elevation as being the contributing factor to a blue zone, I think it completely disregards what the blue zones actually talk about, which is
there's no fast food up there. There's no fast food at that elevation.
Well, there's a couple of things. There's isolation or a lack of social isolation, which most people experience a lot more in North America. There's a very communal way of living and being. There's a way of regarding your elders. And so they're constantly bringing together community. They eat together. They're obviously eating much different foods than we are because they're eating foods directly that they've grown from the land with less toxicity. Elevation, that kind of thing contributes to it. So I don't know. I'm not really in the I want to be careful about saying just because there's no birth certificate doesn't mean it's real, because as we know, that's a big statement, especially in North America. But of course, of the 500, if only 7 can prove it, that makes there's something to disagree with there. I think we just want to be careful about, like, it's not as simple as it seems. I think it's about like, oh, that's about it.
Maybe all the Sasquatches in the world are living in the blue zones. I don't know.
Well, according to you, probably.
Just thinking. All right, so listen, I'm walking over to the community corner segment. That's me walking, guys. That's not John and Marty, because they've just
really quick, brother. I just got it today. I can actually go the distance, so you don't have to cut me loose right now.
All right, awesome. Let's hang out for that one. Let's hang out for it then. All right, let's do that. So, community corner, where I guess I'm turning the walking off then, Jimmy. Today, we're going to get into the community corner segment where we highlight creators making the difference in their fields. And today, we got somebody who is, I
still got to roll. I was
going to say, am I speaking for Marty too?
I was just making an assumption Marty was hanging around too. I'm thinking, Marty's hanging out for Canadian Thanksgiving today. So Marty, you got to rock and roll, brother?
I do actually. This guy.
I love you, pal. Marty, you go and have a good one, brother. We'll talk to you later today, okay, pal? Oh, he's gone. See you later, buddy. All right.
He really had to go.
Yeah, he did. He did have to go. Okay, so today our creator spotlight has been doing amazing work in tech and entrepreneurship, and we are excited to shine a light on their journey today. She's a C-suite executive at scale. No, she didn't step on a scale. I didn't say that. She's a C-suite executive at scale. Yeah, she's been leading the charge in scaling tech companies and advising organizations through complex challenges, making a real impact and inspiring others like you. Yeah, just like you, to do the same. She's from guiding multiple M&A transactions to helping corporations manage change and uncertainty. This lady is truly someone to watch, which is why we are celebrating her today on Mornings in the Lab for our Creator Spotlight. So this morning, we're going to celebrate someone who becomes, just because she's solving real problems and creating meaningful work in leadership and organizational growth. So I'm going to turn my attention to the screen over here. I'm going to turn my attention to presenting this human being on Creator Spotlight. And Jimmy, Kristina, Johnny, today's Creator Spotlight for Mornings in the Lab. And Kristina, I'm going to throw to you why we're celebrating this person, but it is Larissa K. Holmes. Yeah, C-suite at scale, advisor, ex-Duluth, Harvard Business School, executive education from Boston, Massachusetts. Wow. Kristina Flynn, why are we celebrating Larissa Holmes this morning in the lab?
So Larissa is this perfect example of somebody who has had a really winding career and path. She had and got her master's in museology and is now a tech entrepreneur as well as coaching consultant. If you look at those things in isolation, that makes no sense. How did she get from museology to that? And I know personally that there was no, golden spoon given to her either in order to make that path and that transition. She has just done what she needed to do at the various moments and opportunities that were given to her, including, being a management consultant for Deloitte and then saying, actually, I know really how to do this scale thing well. And I know really well how to take people from thought to action, which is something a lot of people struggle with. And we talk about that a lot on the show. And so she uses her skills in those areas to be able to support people on their journey, as well as support herself on her own tech and entrepreneurial journey. What I also love about Larissa, and she's been sharing over the last year, is she decided that in her 39th going into 40th year that she was going to make a change in terms of her health and her fitness. And so somebody who never considered herself an athlete, quote unquote, an athlete growing up said, fuck it. I want to be with my kids. She's got 3 young kids. She's like, I got that longevity mindset. I want to be with my kids. I want to be around for a long time. And so I can't ask anyone else to do anything other than me. And it's got to be me. And I've seen her journey over the last year to go from, it wasn't about weight, it was about just getting fit. And she takes so much pride. She's also very tall. And she takes so much pride in being able to hold 3 of her kids at the same time and say, I'm fucking strong and I want my kids to be able to see that. So exactly. Right. And she doesn't, her kids are tall. Her kids are tall, but it's not like tiny little birds that she's holding at the same time. But I've just got a lot of respect for now she's transitioning to building this personal brand. And she's really a great example of taking her unique skills, experiences, and expertise throughout this winding journey and bringing it so that people can really value from her lessons learned.
What a cool story. Larissa K. Holmes, we are happy to celebrate you here this morning for Creator Spotlight. Apparently you're really tall and you got the short uncle here, so I'm not going to meet you in person because I might be doing this, looking up at you. Larissa, you come hang out with us in the morning. You come hang out. You come celebrate somebody who's in your orbit, who we want to nominate and put on stage to celebrate the Creator Spotlight. And Kristina, one thing that stood out for me when you mentioned Larissa, she's all about longevity, isn't she? Right? She's all about how can I make this long journey in life, and I love that, hearing that when you said that to us. So that's
she does that better than most humans, and I think we talked about it today. It's really hard to do.
It is really hard to
say, I want to just be around for my kids, and I want to be strong. I don't want to care what's on the scale, especially for a lot of women. But even then, that idea of like what we see on social media is not really reality for most people. So what's your priority? Is your priority being able to carry 3 kids up the stairs and be around when you're 80 and however old that they are, and be a force to have around versus somebody they have to take care of? That's that's the different way of looking at it.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's pivot to business and branding with Keith and Kristina. John's going to hang out with us here today, and we're going to continue talking about what we started on Friday, which was the Business Athlete Manifesto. And John, I'm not expecting you heard anything on Friday there, and you and I haven't talked about this idea of a manifesto before. I'm suspecting you have one, just haven't probably specifically articulated as one, or maybe haven't even written it down and called it that. But Kristina and I leaned into this conversation last week, Johnny, about this idea of writing down your principles, your values, what you stand for, publishing it for the world to hold on to and say, yeah, here's who I am. Kristina's dad did it. I did it a number of years back, John, and I called it the Business Athlete Manifesto. And what it is a list of values. It's a list of principles that I uphold and I believe in. And when somebody meets me, John, for the first time, what I often say is I created a video about it. I said, hey, go watch this video. And if you align with this video of me, then we're going to work well together. If you don't align with these values, we're probably not going to work well together. So we're going to continue the conversation here today around the Business Athlete Manifesto and the values and of what they hold. And we're going to continue to go through them. Does that sound a good idea, Kristina?
Love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Johnny, last Friday when we started this, and Nation, we started this, and I got a whole list of them here. But the first one we talked about last week was put humans and wellness first. Every single day, and you know, John, you've gotten to know me well enough, and you as well, Flynn. That's the most important thing to me. You got to take care of yourself, humans and wellness first. We then leaned into prioritizing physical, mental, and emotional self-care. Today, I want to talk about leadership. And today, I really want to talk about what I believe in so strongly, and I'm suspecting my colleagues today here with me believe in this as well. It's one thing to believe in it, but then it's another thing to actually follow through on it. And it's this idea, number 3 on the list, and with no numerical order, but from a leadership perspective in the Business Athlete Manifesto, leading with love. And to me, it's not the rom-com of love. I'm not talking about a Sandra Bullock movie and Matthew McConaughey, a romance love movie. I'm talking leading with love. I'm talking taking the human being that you're leading, knowing who they are, understanding who they are, understanding what moves them or motivates them or inspires them, understanding what helps move them forward, and then leaning into that with your love and helping them achieve those goals. I have found, Kristina and John, since I have moved love to the front of my leadership principles, magic has happened for me. I would really love to start with you, Kristina. When you hear me say lead with love, what does that mean to you when you hear somebody say that?
I think it's easier said than done. I think it's a matter of, it's not what we're used to. And that's what a lot of these concepts are. When you think about leadership, somebody comes to your mind, right? We always create these stories. And there's a figure that comes to your mind in terms of an executive or a leader. The hope one day is that when you use the word leader, you use the word executive, that vision that we have now that looks like one person that leads in one way, hopefully that goes away for the most part. And hopefully what's it's replaced with is somebody who leads with love, is somebody who gives a shit about people, is somebody who is not about like squeezing every ounce of effectiveness or productivity out of an individual, but rather saying, you are with me for a certain period of time. I cannot guarantee how long that is or what we will do together. But what I do know is that we are both human beings. And so tell me about yourself. Let me understand what your goals are. And then how can we work together, me with my experience and skills and you with yours, to get you to where you want to be next. And I think the critical part in all that is that whether it's with me and my team or not, I don't give a shit if you stay on my team, because if that's not aligned with your goals, that's not the right thing. Maybe that's going to be easier for me, but it's not going to be aligned with what's best for you. And I think that's truly leading with love. How can I use my skills and expertise, resources, platform, whatever it is, to get you to the next place that you want to get with the long-term goal in mind? And how do we do that together?
Man, that's powerful. Yeah. And I just got to go right in there, brother. I mean, I so agree with everything you said. It's magnificent, Kristina. And I find for myself that, I mean, I guess to a certain extent, I'm kind of doing this without really realizing it. And here's why. Because I figured out along the way that when I learned to love myself first, I was filling my own personal cup up with love. And then then my leadership was filled with love. You know, there was love in my cup because I loved myself full of all sorts of good stuff, love being one of them. And then my leadership skills became, you know, pretty much aligned with what we're talking about here. And that's it. One of the sayings that I have is, you know, discipline is self-love. You know, when you have the discipline to love yourself and love yourself all the way, it translates into amazing things, and it goes right into leadership.
Sometimes, in my experience, leading with love is telling somebody what they don't want to hear.
Yes.
Or giving them something they don't want to hear. Right. But I think if you set the principle early in your relationship with this human and you build that trust, and Kristina, you're right. This is not a common conversation in leadership. But if I can set the tone with you, let's just play a role play here as my colleague, that I'm going to lead you with love on day one. Right. And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to lead you with love. I'm giving you my manifesto on day one. We're working there. Here's my book on how I'm going to lead you, Kristina. I really strongly believe that gives me permission. That's the wrong word. It gives me the ability to work with you, to move you through situations where you're wondering, what the hell am I doing? But you're knowing that I'm leading you with love, even through things you don't want to do, because I'm aligned with helping you get to your biggest goals. Do you follow me, Kristina? I guess what I'm trying to say, sometimes you got to lead somebody where they don't want to go, but you're doing it because of what they've told you, but you have to do it with love. Does that make sense?
That's the exact definition of what love is, right?
Yes.
The best parents out there are willing to have difficult conversations with their kids. They're willing to say, there's going to be instances where I'm not your friend. My job is to do what I have to do, whether you agree with it or not, in your best interest. And I will do the best that I possibly can as it relates to that. Sometimes you're going to like that, and sometimes you're not going to like that. My hope is that over time, you'll have enough trust in me that I'm not going to play that card unless I really need to, unless it's towards doing my job. And so if you trust me in that, and I'm not expecting my fucking 5-year-old kid to trust me in that, like that will come later. But the nice part about having an adult relationship is that if I show you every day that I do mean these things, and if we develop trust with one another, then when I come to you with a hard conversation, which is something leaders really challenged with doing, and how do you approach that, then my hope is that you know it's within your best interest, and we're all moving towards what you want, what you told me are your goals.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me sneak one little thing in there. Kristina's so correct. With my little girls, they got so tired of hearing me say, I will be your father first. I'll be your friend second. And as your father, I have to do the hard things, and I have to tell you no, and I have to do the things that I know is best for you, as to where if I was being your friend first, I wouldn't be serving you into your future. And now that they're grown, they're like, man, that makes so much sense. And thank you, Dad. So on point, Kristina, so on point.
Yeah. We're talking business and branding with Keith and Kristina and Jon Andersen. We're leaning into the Business Athlete Manifesto, and we've been talking about leading with love. Again, a superpower that I've learned as a leader if you can truly lead with love, I really believe you will unlock performance within your team, within your family, within yourself that you can't even imagine. I really believe that. I think that is a skill that if you can intentionally hone on a daily basis with your colleagues, you're gonna set records within your business. All right, next one. This one's an easy one, guys, but yet Jon, Kristina, is so often overlooked by most humans. Yet for me, I learned early on in life, and Andersen, I'm suspecting you did as well. But this one here is so simple, yet and so powerful and so meaningful for everyone who receives it. Yet it's so, I find, so difficult for most to deliver it. Have good manners. Yeah. It's so basic and simple. But saying yes to somebody, saying please, saying thank you, like please and thank you are, and maybe Johnny, they're just Canadian things, Keith and Kristina talking here. But man, the power of a please, but more importantly, the power of a thank you. Holy smokes, man. Does that ever go a long ways? And I know somebody tuning in right now is going, what is this, the Hulk Hogan show, eat your Wheaties? Yeah, in some ways that it is. Because I'm telling you, man, the power of manners will make somebody remember you more than anything else that you do. Anything. Because when you make somebody feel good about themselves through the power of your words, through a good manner, man, you're going to move mountains with good manners. Kristina, let's start with you on this one.
So I'm going to challenge the idea of manners, although I think I understand what you're saying, because I think a lot of us were raised with a different definition of manners. Sometimes manners are presented as very old school traditional. This is the path. This is what you do. This is how you eat. This is how you refer to somebody. This is how you talk. And I think that some of those manners that we've been taught are not necessarily indicative of good people, but rather this like perpetuation of an ideal of what is supposed to be. So I don't love the ideas of manners, but what I think you're saying that resonates with me is just showing people, one, that you appreciate them. We talked about it earlier on the show. Jory Jansen said that her husband said, "What are you getting out of this?" And she said, "I'm showing up because I feel appreciated." There's real power in that conversation. And the next is acknowledging that even if you're in a leadership position, and even if somebody has the responsibility to report to you, doesn't mean that everything needs to be done ASAP. Doesn't mean that you don't appreciate and you don't ask them with manners or just saying, "Hey, can you please do this for me?" It's just like a simple acknowledgement that, yes, I'm shoving something into your life and that might be your responsibility to me. But at the same time, we're humans and I'm acknowledging that I'm doing it. I have posted about it. I talk about it all the time. When somebody asks me to do something ASAP, my immediate reaction is to do something never. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. There's something so visceral inside me when somebody tells me to do something ASAP, because that's saying, you could even use the words as soon as possible, and I wouldn't refer to it that way. It's just this overuse of like, you better do this and you better do it now and you better do it. I don't care what's going on in your life. This needs to be done. And with no consideration of that in your employees, it makes me viscerally say, I'm doing it never.
So I want to come back to this. Johnny, I want to hear your comments on manners. I want to come back to Kristina because I don't fully agree with Kristina on this one.
Well,
let's go.
So, you know me, I like to keep things simple, and so when we talk about manners, I think that it fits perfectly into kind of what the concept I'm going to talk about here right now is that I think what people don't realize is that every time we come across with something, we have a conversation with someone, we interact with someone, that we're basically, that person's going to have a reaction that's going to be good or bad. It's one of the two. It may be a little good, maybe a little bad, but you're not sitting in the middle. And so having good manners is going to definitely help you make sure that the people you're affecting positively. If you don't have good manners, people are like, forget that son of a bitch, And so I think the idea of if you just have good manners or you behave in a very respectful way, you behave in a way that motivates and inspires, however you want to define your behavior or your manners, just remember that everybody you come in contact with is going to get a good or bad reaction from how you behave or your set of manners.
Yes. Yeah. And we're going to wrap up here in a couple of minutes. I know we got a hard stop here in a couple of minutes here, but Tina, so I hear you loud and clear. I'm wondering if we're just overcomplicating it though. And what I'm wondering out loud with what you said is if somebody has taken the time to build their trust with you, and if somebody's taken the time to build a relationship with you, and if somebody's taken the time to express themselves, what's important in their values, and here's my manifesto, the moment that I come to ask you for something that needs to be done in a certain period of time, my belief is that we've built that trust pattern in place. When I say, hey, Tina, I fucked up, man. I need to get this done ASAP because I messed up. Can you help me?
That's entirely different.
Yes, that's my point, because I've built the trust, but I built the trust around manners, because on day one, I said, please, I've said, thank you. I've treated with you respect. And I know it sounds so old school and so traditional. You're right. But man, those words go a long way so that when we do have to go to battle, you're like, okay, I remember how he made me feel when he first met me. I remember how Jon made me feel when he first addressed me as, hey, Miss Kristina, or whatever. So I really believe that those little moments that we sometimes don't even articulate in our head or aren't even aware of, that when we express them, that when the going gets tough and I say to Tina, hey, I need this ASAP, you're ready to rock and roll, because I've earned that through proper manners or through tradition to get you there to that point. Do you know what I'm saying, Kristina?
Yeah, I think we're talking about tone, basically. So, yeah. And that's likely my own bias on how people have used ASAP towards me. So towards you. Yes. I worked in an environment where, one, everything was ASAP. Fuck off. No, it's not. It doesn't need to be done as soon as possible. You just would like it done because you would like to put a checkbox beside it because that makes you feel really good. But if it requires me and my time and attention, I need to figure out where it lives in my to-do list. So there's a difference there. And that's likely where my visceral reaction comes from. And I think, the way that you described, hey, this has come up, something's happened. It doesn't matter if it was your fault or not. I don't give a shit. Something's happened, but we need to get to this as soon as possible. There's an entirely different tone versus, hey, you need to do this ASAP. If you say, hey, you need to do this ASAP, I'm middle fingering you. I'm like, fuck you. I don't care. I'm doing it never. And because it puts your time and what you need to accomplish above my time and what I need to accomplish. So I think that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about respect. Yes. If we've developed a great relationship and we've got mutual respect for what other people are doing, then great, let's do that. I also think maybe we're confusing, or maybe my association with manners is also an association with etiquette. And maybe that's where I'm also getting caught up too. When I think of manners, I think of etiquette. I think of what's prim and proper. I think of how we as women have been told we need to conduct ourselves and what it looks like to be this and that, and how we need to show ourselves off in society. So that's also likely a bias of mine. But I'm all about please and thank yous, because I recognize a lot of times when I'm in the US, I'll say thanks so much, and people won't respond to like you're welcome. They'll go, I'm like, why? What? Like there's something about it, but it's also the way I was raised.
Yeah. You know, and Kristina, that's really interesting that you say that, because when your digestion of the word manners was different, my digestion was, okay, manners, I immediately went to how do I behave?
Yes.
As to where you took manners in more of like, okay, hold your fork the right way, you know? Yeah. And so the digestion of the word
socialization, because boys are not taught to behave the same way as girls are taught. When we look at behavior and socializing young girls versus young boys, girls are often taught to be seen and not heard. Girls are often taught they need to show up in a certain way. Like I fought against wearing a dress because girls were meant to wear dresses. Like little things like that were socialized as, it doesn't matter what you care about. It doesn't matter what's authentically you. This is what society expects of you, and this is how you should act. Whereas, and I'm not making any assumptions, but generally, most young boys are not always raised with that same sort of etiquette or manners.
I know what I care about, Johnny, and I care about my friend Kristina Flynn, who gave me a hard stop at 10 o'clock Eastern time. And because I lead with love, I'm wrapping up the show. I'm wrapping up.
Appreciate you.
There we go.
Airbnb checkout time, fam.
We're wrapping up because Coach Flinner's got to rock and roll. Hey, you're here with Keith, Kristina, Jon Andersen, business and branding segment. We're wrapping up the show here today. We had a great, awesome show. 2 hours of nothing but nuggets dropping from beginning to end. And I'm going to rapidly end it because Flinner's got to go and we're going to lead with love. Yeah. And we're going to come back tomorrow. The business and branding segment, business athlete performance lab, mornings in the lab. We're going to continue digging into the business athlete manifesto. Great conversation. And I'll just leave with this. Kristina, I think about it more like Johnny does, right? Which is how can I show up for you so I can make an impression with you with good manners? That's kind of how I lean into the whole conversation about manners. Johnny, thanks for showing up today, brother. Tina, thanks for showing up today, sister. And Jimmy, producer Jimmy, thanks for pressing the buttons. Marty, rock and roll. And we'll see you guys tomorrow mornings in the lab at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We got to get out of here. Flinner's got to go. Leave with love. See you guys tomorrow.